Yeah, man, I fucking love that. That was awesome. Like, yeah, the movie has a lot of cheap effects, but they work. There's a lot of camera tricks. There is some bad acting at some point parts, but most of the time, about 90% of the time, the actors do phenomenal. And yeah, like I said, there's some cheap effects. The voice acting for Chucky is great. Brad Dorff is great, especially for. And this movie had a low budget, right? So for a low budget movie, this movie did well, and this movie did get its money's worth definitely. And yeah, in my opinion, I remember seeing Child's Play 2, and I remember that was way better than the first movie, because the first movie they didn't have that much money, but the second movie, obviously they saw the success, and obviously they have more money. But yeah, not that many characters die for a horror movie, which is weird. You don't see. I think at least 5 characters die. It was the babysitter, the voodoo guy, the doctor, Owen, the Charles Lee Ray's sidekick, and then Charles Lee Ray, Chucky. But the serial killer in scary movies doesn't really count as a death, in my opinion. So really, only 4 people really die, and only one's a girl and like 3's a guy. Like so, for a horror movie, this has a low death count. Like I said, this is a horror movie, so you expect some death scenes, right? So there's that. What else can I say? Yeah, this movie is nostalgic, especially looking at the late 80s, early 90s. It reminds me a lot of being as a kid, especially like the first 30 minutes of the movie, man, when you see Andy around all that with those toys, the TV, the commercials. It reminds you a lot of like how Saturday morning cartoons used to be and how Toys R Us used to be when you went to Toys R Us. Now we really don't have things like Toys R Us anymore. Everything's all digital. This movie really makes you miss like some good times, man. Like some great old times. Uh, yeah, and the central character for this movie is Chucky. Like in most horror movies, characters like let's say Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, like most of the serial killers in horror movies don't really have a personality unless you're talking about Freddy Krueger and then Chucky. Between Freddy Krueger and Chucky, they're both funny. They're both funny, like they are. And Chucky's definitely funnier in his second movie and third movie. He does say some funny lines in here, but personality-wise, I think Chucky's personality-wise is a lot better for some reason because the way he delivers his lines is so sarcastic. Whereas Freddy Krueger, he's intentionally trying to be funny, but Chucky's never trying to be funny. He's just being sarcastic. He's just being himself. Like, oh, what's that, gun jam? Yeah. And because of this movie, I definitely did not buy any of the Buddy dolls. They were called Buddy dolls in real life, not Good Guy dolls. I think. I don't really remember. My dad did buy a real life Buddy doll for us as kids, but I don't remember. Like, what we did with those. I think he did it as a prank. And so here's my question. Is the new remake going to live up to the new Child's Play? And to be brutally honest, I don't think it ever will. I think kids these days will never know, like, obviously the 80s or 90s, because I didn't grow up in that era. Obviously, this new movie is going to cater to a younger generation. And that's okay. That's both sad and okay. If you are from, well, the older generation, you can still enjoy this movie for what it is and still enjoy it for its original timeline. But with the new movie, from what it sounds like, the plot for the new movie is way different than what it sounds like for the plot of this movie. So the plot of the new Child's Play movie is Chucky is not really alive. He is an AI animatronic whose system got fucked with a little bit. And as it's been stating on the internet, that yeah, it's an AI. It's not a real human being, a voodoo doll. They did away with the whole voodoo doll thing and just went with the whole AI thing, which is, in a way, interesting. It's kind of creepy. But I also heard a rumor that it's not going to be called Chucky. It's going to be called something else. And if you look at the Buddy website, and I'll put some in the links below, but the Buddy website has a Buddy doll that has blonde hair and different types of hair. And from what it sounds like, Chucky's going to have a different voice actor. I really hope they go with Brad Dorff again. But if it's going to be a different scenario where the Chucky doll is an AI, So he's going to be voiced a little differently, maybe. And supposedly this AI whose system got fucked with, he's going to have like no remorse for what it sounds like. But the new movie also still has Andy. So obviously the new movie's going to be a completely different timeline and all that. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I have seen Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, and all the 3 recent Chucky movies. I've seen Curse of Chucky, and I thought that was okay. But to be honest, brutally honest, I don't like any of the Chucky movies past 3. Even Child's Play 3 was kind of shit, and I'll get to that later. I remember that movie, and I'm going to watch it one day for a reaction video. But even Child's Play 3 has some issues with it. I still consider it an okay movie. I just haven't seen Child's Play 1 in a long-ass time. I'm so glad I've seen it. So yeah, like, this movie started the Chucky genre. It started, like, the Chucky franchise, and that is cool. I love the character of Chucky. I think he's a cool horror franchise, and if I had to rate this movie, I would say I love this movie. Yeah, I love this movie. Because it's such a classic movie. It does show a lot of nostalgic feelings. And it's not the greatest movie ever made, but I personally love this movie because it has a lot of nostalgic feelings for me. And nostalgia parts, you know. So I personally love this movie. I don't know why I stumbled on my words. And yeah, it's definitely going to be one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not going to be like, I would never say it's going to be like top 100 favorite movies of all time, but it's definitely up there. I love horror movies. As a horror movie franchise, a horror movie genre, it definitely would be in one of my top 100s as a horror movie, because there's some shit horror movies out there. And this movie definitely has some visual problems when it comes to Chucky and his stunt doubles. You can tell some parts are fake, but it's cool because some parts you can't tell because of the trick camera angles, which they fixed that. And some of the stunt doubles and claymation that they use, obviously, if you see Chucky moving, like, kind of jagged, they're obviously using some claymation type form. But there's at least 3 parts in this movie. It's like a quick shot of a guy in a Chucky costume, especially towards the end. There's like 2 quick shots. And you can tell it's a guy in a Chucky costume, and I didn't really buy it. It kind of took me out of the movie. And there's one other part earlier in the movie that you can totally tell it's a guy in a costume. I mean, it obviously is a guy in a costume, but when you're watching a movie, you want to at least have some sort of make-believe. But when I see those 3 shots, it takes me out of the movie for a second. But that's okay. It's forgivable. Because what I'm afraid is going to happen in the new Chucky movie is that they're going to use CGI the whole time for Chucky, and it's going to be noticeable. Like, there's a difference between practical effects and CGI. And this movie definitely does well with its practical effects. There's really only 3 parts of this movie that really bug me with its practical effects when it comes to Chucky. Oh yeah, and also got to mention the background with the smoke, the clouds in the sky. And that's my rating. I love this movie. It's going to be a movie that I'll never forget. I'll probably watch it once every couple of years. I'm not going to watch it like once every year, but once every couple of years is good enough for me because, you know, you can't watch a movie too much or all the time because it kind of just ruins the movie. If you forget about the movie a little bit, like I didn't see this movie for almost 20 years at least almost 20 years. So I'm glad watching it again because I forgot a lot of parts about this movie. So I recommend that you watch this movie first before you actually watch any reaction videos or go online. Like, watch this movie first and get the feeling for yourself. Watch this movie first. Stop looking at videos online about reaction videos or whatever, and stop looking at scenes online. Just watch this movie first so you can get the feel, because watching this movie first at home in the dark, like, it definitely does something to you. Like, you know, because I believe that the internet kind of ruins a lot of things for us when it comes to movies. Like, oh, look at this. It's like, oh, the funniest scene in this movie, or all the kills in this movie. And I see a lot of those clickbaity videos online. And so as a review, I would say you should watch this movie maybe alone. It's probably better alone. Or maybe watch it with some friends, or 1 or 2 friends. You will enjoy this movie, as if you're a horror movie fan, if you haven't seen it. This is definitely one of the classic horror movies of all time. And I'm proud to say that. Like, I am totally proud to say that because this movie is from my time. And this movie has aged a little bit, admittedly. Admittedly has aged a little bit. But not too much. I can see maybe 20 years from now, this movie would probably still age terribly. But there's at least some saving grace for this movie that would still make it enjoyable. Some of the practical effects are still good. This movie still gets you invested in the movie. The actors are not that bad. The setting, obviously, it's also a low-budget movie, so they did their best to use as much cheap effects and camera effects as possible, camera tricks as possible. So yeah, and that's it. Like, if you want to see what late 80s or early 90s were like, watch this movie. This movie's first 30 minutes shows you what American childhood was like back in those days. So guys, this is Matthew Scooby, and that's my rating for this movie. I love this movie. I give it on a scale of 1 to 10. I would give it honestly about a 9. Yeah, I would give it a 9. It's not a perfect movie, and people are going to disagree with me, but this is personally a movie that talks to me personally. It's something I'm going to enjoy. Maybe a 9's a little decent from a scale of 1 to 10, but man, this movie's a classic to me, and I'm proud to say that. Guys, this is Matthew Scooby. I gotta go. You guys have a good day. Peace out.